Hello and welcome back to the Birthright podcast. If you're new here, my name is Taylor and I will be your soul sister on this journey into the real and raw conversations around what it means to be remembering ourselves as women, remembering the things that I believe are our birthright to know. In this podcast, we talk about everything from the body and its cycles and hormones and spirituality and relationships, really leaving nothing off the table. So if you are a modern woman who is feeling called to remembering those ancient ways, then you are in the right place. And I'm so honored to walk this path with you. In this week's episode, we are going to be answering the question of where the heck did our menstrual shame come from? A natural process that happens in our body every month to every single woman on this planet, for the most part, goes through it in her life. Where does that shame come from? And it's a really interesting topic to explore. So this is episode 2 of a 6-part mini-series that I'm doing on the menstrual cycle, a topic I feel very passionate of speaking on. And in last week's episode, we really set the foundation for the 4 phases of the cycle and understanding that the cycle, when we talk about it, it's way more than just the bleed. So you have your follicular phase, your ovulation, your luteal, and then your menstrual. And we talked about the hormones and what's actually going on in your body, and the really big takeaway being that as women, we are not meant to wake up and feel the same every single day. I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you haven't listened to it and are looking for more of a foundational understanding of what the menstrual cycle is, then go check it out. No one ever taught me that a period was powerful or that our cycle was something to really be revered. I remember growing up seeing commercials on TV for Tampax and Kotex, and they were of women playing intense sports or riding horses or wearing tight white clothing. And that was advertised of what you do when you get your bleed. You buy this product to plug yourself up and you keep going with life. You don't slow down. It's just an inconvenience. We have the product for you to fix it, and that's it. And, I think that led to even my own decision to get on birth control when I was 15 and being on that for 15 years because I just looked at it as truly an inconvenience. I'm like, if I can stop it, then why not just stop it? And now that I have been getting to know my cycle more over the last 3 years since being off of birth control, this question of where is that shame actually rooted has become really top of mind for me. And it's something I feel really passionate about sharing with younger women to really eradicate that root as much as we can, because this is one of the body's most natural processes. So in today's episode, I want to explore what happened. Was there a specific event that happened? Has it always been this way? Or what really shifted in how we relate to the menstrual cycle as a culture, how the shame still exists in our culture today and how it's being perpetuated still, and then also why it makes total sense that we were taught to think of this very powerful cycle as just an inconvenience to be overlooked. My hunch and what I truly believe is that our bodies were never the problem to begin with. So I've loved studying this topic under one of my teachers, Jane Hardwick Collings. If you're not familiar with her, highly recommend. She is a midwife, she's an author, she is a women's guide into all of the rites of passage as a woman, and she also is a beautiful crone, an elder, a wise elder that I've really enjoyed getting to learn from. And according to her work and studies, she has come across ancient cultures, civilizations, and indigenous cultures that really celebrated when women's bleeds came. They had a gathering place in the tribe called either a moon lodge or a red tent, as we might hear it today, which was a place for the women to go and to rest, to be relieved of the daily chores, of the tasks, of even childcare. This is where the grandmother, the crone role became really important for the elder women to actually be the ones that are looking after the children during this time. It was a time of dreaming, restoration, and some even said a time of prophecy when the women would gather in the tent together and bleed, because it was said that the veil is thinner. And I've certainly felt this myself, of tapping into my own inner oracle during my bleed. So imagining gathering with many of my sisters under one roof and getting to celebrate this time of the month and slowing down together and actually being quiet enough to hear a prophecy or what needed to be delivered for the future of my community. How beautiful does that sound? Bleeding women were really seen as being much more connected to the unseen realms. And there's even accounts of coming out and sharing a prediction of what's going to happen in the future. And the tribe would take it very seriously, of what came out of these moon lodges and these red tent gatherings. So what changed? According to the work of Jane Hardwick Collins, there are several things that we can point to that indicate that menstrual shame has been indoctrinated into us for a long, long time, dating back to whenever culture started shifting from being horizontally oriented into a more vertical, hierarchical culture. And so what I mean by that is, with horizontal, you think about the tribes and everyone is contributing and everyone has a responsibility, and there is a sense of community which is required for survival. Whereas a more vertical, hierarchical culture is where there's one person at the top and the power is cascading down, but really everything is going through that one person, which was the birth of the patriarchal society that we still find ourselves dealing with the consequences of today. So with the rise of the Roman Empire, for example, the focus shifts to war, building the military, to expansion, to productivity. All of these are really critical things for growing an empire. And then on top of that, you also have the church and the growth of the church, where instead of looking to body and to land for intuition and for guidance, the higher powers wanted it to be that all of their citizens were reporting to God under the command of God. This creates a culture that's much easier to control if everyone can outsource their power and their own intuitive thinking to God. And of course, we have to speak about the witch hunts, which were happening in Europe for nearly 300 years, where tens of thousands of intuitive women, the wise women, the healers, the ones that carried the lineage of learning how to heal from the land itself, were just absolutely decimated. The patriarchal culture that was building around a sense of control and productivity and high demand viewed women being on a cyclical journey as extremely inconvenient, right? Not only that, but for women actually tapping into an intuitive power, almost a clairvoyance of when they're bleeding, that would be really threatening to a society that was obsessed with power. Cyclical power, it just does not fit into these very linear systems. So with all of these different historical events, it's really important to get this contextual understanding of, it wasn't just like somebody said, we need to erase menstrual wisdom from the history books. It's something that has slowly happened over time as the culture has evolved and what culture has prioritized. So fast forward to today, and what is it that we hear about menstruation? There are so many jokes and memes and things about PMSing, right? About being hormonal when everyone is hormonal. We have hormones in our body that are changing and shifting, and it's such a beautiful thing. Going back to the tampon commercials that I was talking about in the beginning, seeing advertisements like that show no sign of slowing down whenever you have your bleed, and even like seeing the blue liquid that they pour on the pads in those commercials, it's like, why can't we actually just see blood? And it's all of these things that are contributing to this continuation of shame. And not to mention all of these young girls who are starting their bleeds without a proper initiation into it. How many young girls are being put on birth control without an explanation of what it is or what it's actually doing to your body? And especially here in America and Western cultures, that 9 to 5 hustle, work, productivity mindset, it's certainly not built for women. This is still very much a man's world, especially when you dive into the workplace. And with all of that being said, we inherited this shame. It's not because our mothers failed us. It's not because we're disconnected. It's because our lineage was interrupted. Our lineage was interrupted from how it was always meant to be. And when you inherit shame, you start thinking of it as yours. You think that it belongs to you. Now, here's the part that really shifted something for me when I think about this beautiful cycle. If our ovulation is bringing magnetism and really drawing people into us, we're shining big, shining bright. And our luteal phase brings discernment of starting to slow down and really evaluate what's working for us in our life and what needs to fall away. And then the menstrual phase brings that truth, that reflection, that slowing down for inner knowing and intuition of the seeds that you're wanting to plant for the next month. If all women knew this, then there would have to be some big, big changes. Women would think differently about their work schedules. They would think differently about how they schedule their lives in general and their social calendars. They might even think differently about their partners and about their leadership style. There are so many ways that the cycle impacts our life on a day-to-day basis. And that kind of self-trust, if we trusted ourselves that much and didn't need to outsource or feel that we were not capable of that deep trust within ourselves, that would be so disruptive, so disruptive. And it's not because anyone is evil, but all of these systems that I've talked about in this podcast, they're really built around a predictability model and having repeatable results that are linear. Again, we're cyclical beings. I like to think of it as an upward spiral. My whole month, I just look at it as like this spiral, like, where am I going? Where am I going? Whereas the linear is just a much more directional and clearer, less mysterious path. Because being cyclical, it's harder to predict. We're not constant. Each day could present its own differences and challenges and uniqueness. And what if instead of this being framed as a weakness, as an inconvenience, that it was actually brought back to this is the greatest intelligence on the planet. And I'm smiling so big right now because I think that this is one of the really beautiful, beautiful parts of this, is that we're living in a time of remembrance. I have heard from more women that they are giving their daughters an initiation into their monthly bleed, that they're teaching their daughters about the moon cycles even before their bleed starts, that they're letting their family into where they're at on their cycle, and the household is operating with the mom and where she's at. I'm just filled with so much hope that this is the time to bring us back to what some of these ancient civilizations and indigenous cultures knew to be so true, which is that we have the most divine intelligence built right into our bodies right here, into a system that wants predictability that is super scary. So to close on this episode, I just want to give some tips from my heart of how we can continue to normalize the conversation around our menstrual cycles in our day-to-day lives. These are just some invitations for you. Take them if you like them, leave them if you don't. But when I gather with my friends, with my girlfriends especially, I like to find out where everyone is at in their cycle. I'm like, I am ovulating right now. I'm feeling amazing. Where are you at? It is really cool to see which of your friends that you might be synced up with and then be like, oh yeah, it makes so much sense why we're in the same vibe every single month. We love to go out at the same time together. And when we need alone time, we're honoring that. You might find that some of your friends you're completely on a different cycle with, and they're always asking you to hang out exactly when you don't want to hang out. So again, it's just really cool to think about, referencing back the last episode, of how we can structure our lives around our cycle. And to alleviate some of the shame, let's just talk about it more. I post about it on my Instagram, like when I'm in my bleed or when I'm really feeling the depths of luteal, because I think the more that we see these things being talked about, discussed, that we're hearing about it, of course, it becomes more normalized in that way. Another thing that's been really, really big for me has been letting my partner into my cycle and making sure that he knows exactly where I am. We do this through the Natural Cycles app, which I will link in the show notes. It's been my favorite app for cycle tracking, syncing with my Aura ring, and I love being able to track all of my symptoms on there. I'm becoming like a little researcher of my own body and really looking for patterns and looking for clues of where there might be something off. If I'm having symptoms at the same time every month, or if that they're totally random, then it might point to something different. I love letting my romantic partner into that experience. Then he's better prepared for how to support me throughout the month, and that makes him feel really good too. My last suggestion for you is to really create time and space for yourself when you do have your monthly bleed. Create your own red tent, create your own moon lodge, create, even if it's just taking a bath every day that you have your bleed, or clearing a few hours on your schedule to do absolutely nothing, including not looking at technology, and feel into the intuitive powers that this part of your cycle holds. There have been so many times where answers have come to me so clearly sitting at my altar during my bleed, things that I have been ruminating on for the entire month, that all of a sudden it just feels like the answer is there when I take the time and space to listen. So I think the more women who are actively making this time of the month a ritual and a very sacred space, and they start feeling the powers of being this connected to their cycle, the more that they'll want to share it too. So those are just a few ideas on how to bring this conversation more to the forefront. The more that we all speak about it, the more that we believe and actually trust in its power and its intelligence, then we're going to continue seeing this world shift. I think we can all agree that the patriarchal way of ruling, it's just not working anymore. So let's connect back to our bodies and let's lead from a place of love and connection and show what this true intelligence can really do. Thank you all so much for joining today. I hope that you took a few little nuggets away of understanding from a deeper perspective that menstrual shame didn't just start in our lifetime. It's something that has been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And it roots back to these very big events in history. So remember, if you've felt shame around your monthly bleed, that shame is not yours to own and it can be released. It only takes one generation to shift from one of shame to one of empowerment with your own cycle. It's truly such an honor to be on here and to share this information. And we're going to continue the conversation in our next episode, as it will be episode 3 of this 6-part series. So if you are loving the menstruation conversation, then stay tuned. I'll see you then.